How's everybody doing? I could barely see myself. I can't see myself. The sun is so bright. It's so bright. I can't see myself. I hope. Oops. You know what I have to go through this. It's so bright. So bright. Oh, there you go. I won't take long. I won't take long. Promise. But I got to, you all already know. I gotta do a little, a little something, something. When I when I begin and do the illustrations, I won't have this issue though, because most of the video will be about the illustrations that I'm putting together. All right. I just add some empanadas and some, guacamole with refried beans and then all kinds of peppers and my Slurpee. Uh, Mr. Gibson, Christopher, Manny, Miss Lawson, your charts are ready. You can call us so you can get you ready. And that's just the ones that I'm gonna do speaking about the child in person or on the phone or how we do. And then I have some extra videos through Zoom to be sent to your email. But I'm holding that until I talk to you first. We do the preliminary birth chart, 2 hours, by phone, FaceTime, video time, and then I send you the other videos through Zoom instead of doing it through YouTube so that you can have privacy. Okay? So, wow, that took me almost 2 weeks to it's been a while since I do the progressions, secondary progressions, composite, synastry, chart rectification, chart relocation. I had to do all of that in this past month. That was a lot. That was a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. Detailed, mathematical, painstaking, detailed work. Um, if I really was to charge what it's worth, no one will be able to, in the young generation, to afford it. Like I said, in the 80s, when there was no computers, no internet, no cell phones, this kind of service cost thousands of dollars. Today, it kind of still does because we don't have many astrologers that do chart calculation to the degree that they used to do them back in the 80s and even earlier, 70s. There was many astrologers, many unemployed. There was too many of us. Now there's hardly any. No one wants to deal with the math. And the math is complex. You have to really love what you're doing and have a lot of patience with yourself and with people that you're servicing. And then on top of all of that, you got to sit down and interpret the information. Calculate the information takes time, and then to interpret the information is another set of criteria that also may take time. That's why I do talking plus videos and other stuff to give more. Um, the cosmos. Let's start talking about that. Um, well, first of all, thank you. Let me go through the salutations. Thank you so much for your donations, your subscribes, your likes. I don't focus on any of that. I never say like my videos, subscribe. I don't. If you like it, you do. If you don't, you don't. I don't, live off of that. But I like, but it's nice if you do. And yeah, many of you do. Many of you remind each other to do so because I don't talk about it. I don't think about it. I'm always focused on the downloads. I'm always focusing on what I have to say. I wish I could say hello. to many of you. I wish I could do that. The sun is so bright, and I have to get a new pair of glasses. I do because these are shades. Because let me tell you, I cannot see a thing without these glasses. So I have to, Mr. Magoo, do the Mr. Magoo thing. Alrighty. My friend from Detroit, the Aquarius from Detroit, call me so I can. I'd love to talk to you today. I called you yesterday so that we can begin your chart. And I know it's been 2 years since we last completed it, but you want to do some service media and some things like that, and I have some options for you. Okay, so if you call me today so we can begin your second half of your reading, um, which you already paid for because this was 2 years ago and that contract is over. All right. Now, I don't understand why I was given the this information about the cosmos because I thought that I've done enough videos talking about the cosmos and the formation of the cosmos, you know. So, but uh, the creator, the source, has told me to go back with the information of the tree of life and go a little deeper. I'm sorry, but I'm like, spirit. I don't know if they're going to understand this, if they're even gonna care, and I still don't know how the collective is going to use this information because you really can be an average guy or gal holding this type of knowledge. It should really be for initiates, magicians, witches, high priests, and shamans, and things of that caliber. Not for the private, average citizen. But they say no, crack the code now. So later on, the collective can be accustomed to this type of knowledge and it will expand their minds. Yep. Whether they believe it or not, just hearing the information will create magical metamorphoses within the soul of each individual that sees and hears this video. So, okay. My job as well, I think that's so sweet. They call me a master teacher. These are my angels. They're like, you're a master teacher. You can make something complex very simple. Then we need you for that. So, okay. As long as you guys like it, I might just need to get a feedback from you guys to see if you actually really like it, enjoy it, or more importantly, understand the material. Okay. So, without further ado, let's begin with the tree of life. Oh, there's some of you here. I like. Let me hope I can see you. Let me hope I can see you. No, I can't see your names at all. The sun is too bright. I hope you can hear me. Mm. Love my slurping. Okay. Do I have a pointer? Do I have a pointer? Okay. Okay, we are going to begin. I'm going to face the camera the other way as soon as I put the illustration up. Okay? It's a little chilly here in Houston. Okay. Did you guys research the new star that appears in the heavens? Did you guys go to NASA? Did you go to? Wow, it's fierce. It's fierce. And I feel so special because I was the first to see it. And then it came out on the news, and I'm surprised that it didn't cause uh, the hype that something like this should be causing. It's not every day that we witness a new star appear in the heavens. This doesn't happen every day. I mean, it does happen every day, but not within our proximity. Definitely, there hasn't been a burning supernova in our galaxy for a long, long time. And these are things that you read about, dream about, or even make movies about. You know? So I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to know your opinions, guys, on the matter. But I see it every night. We all come out. We all come out and we look at it. It's just bright. But when I do a little, talk, which I really don't have time to do that anymore. But every now and then, a little talk, so that I can eat, because I lost so much weight. I'm trying to get my weight back. So even my doctor said, yeah, you might have to do a little weed to give me appetite. But I tell you, I'll never forget that day, that evening. And I'm singing just, and I don't know if it was the weed, but it's like it was creating a nebula around itself. Like almost like there was a spewing nebula. I was in Massachusetts years ago, and this subscriber bought me a telescope, a very expensive $3,000 telescope for my birthday. And I remember, and this is fascinating, fascinating. We happened to see the planet Mars, and I could see volcanic activity spewing out of Mars. It was so beautiful that me, this grown ass man, we started crying. The fact that we were given the privilege to see that. I'm like, and it was Mars, and because there's volcanic activity in Mars, but not as much as in Venus. Venus has tremendous volcanoes, active volcanoes. It's a real hellish place. I don't think they can ever land a probe in Venus. It's too fiery, hellish. hmm But Mars, because there's a time of the year that Mars comes close by declination to the Earth, and we could see the red dot crossing the heavens, and we know it's Mars. There's another one that's like that, and it has different colors. They go back and forth, and that's of course Saturn and its rings. Saturn is far larger than Mars, and it gives a very luminescent appeal, very beautiful. Saturn is a very beautiful planet. It is, despite the fact that it's the devil, the demiurge. It's quite a beautiful planet, which is why it used to be called the Lucifer before Venus. So both of them were uh, mythologicalized as luminaries. But we know today, as we didn't know in the classical period, thousands of years ago, that these were not stars but planets bouncing off the light of the sun, appearing them to look like stars. Okay, let us turn to the diagram. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. This is the diagram, and we are going to reference Once again, in a more complex perspective, the tree of life. The tree of life, you have to understand that this is a key. It's a key, but it's also, and this key, it looks very simple, but everything can be decoded concerning the knowledge of the cosmos just by looking at this diagram. For example, I always tell you, I always tell you that Gaia is the first god, and it is a female god, and her job is to imaginate, imagination, not manifestation of that imagination, but all she does is imagine, and she imagines many, 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 many multiple worlds, both invisible and visible. And it's not just carbon matter that's solid form. There's other forms of matter that are non-carbon, that are just as solid as carbon-based matter. And in the same token, we have other dimensions and planes of existence that are just as physical as ours here in carbon matter. But they're made of substances that scientists still do not understand or comprehend. Even occultists, I myself couldn't tell you either. Okay? So, how do they all come about? How exactly do they all come about? Scientists has an answer, right? Which is very linear, very scientific. But the science, the backhand of God, which is the science, is also engendered. It comes from spirit. Both spirit and science are one and the same. They really are. You just have to have a high level of mental acuity to understand it. And everything else that comes after that. So let's go back to the. I did an itemization here. We're gonna go. Let's go back here. Let's go back to the diagram. Over here, I have the key points. The first one is the great separation. The great separation. Number two, we're going to discuss the birth of polarity or duality. Number three, the interrelations of the planets, right? Number four, the ruling hierarchy. The ruling hierarchy. Number five, oh, what did I put on here? The, what did I write here? The fixity of the cosmos, and the formation of carbon-based matter. Number six, the plurality of worlds. The plurality of worlds. I use that title because Thomas Paine, which was one of the early founding fathers for this country, he wrote a book. He wrote two books, and I mentioned this before. One is called Common Sense, and the other one is The Plurality of Worlds. And I remember I talked about Thomas Paine. He was excommunicated. That's another term. He had to leave the United States. He was banned from the United States. An American. Thomas Paine is an American. but he lost his citizenship and was banned out of the United States, where he went to Europe. Later on, he was, exonerated, but he was not to return to the United States because he wrote a book, The Plurality of Worlds. I have not seen that book. I don't think it's in print anymore. Uh, but he mentions in this book that there are life forms everywhere in the cosmos, that there isn't a single cornerstone of the cosmos, of the known and unknown universe, in which there is no life. The whole cosmos is teeming with life. And this was something that the founding fathers knew too, but it was to be kept secret. Thomas Paine wrote a book and made it public. And it cost him his citizenship, even as a founding father outside of the United States. I think, yeah, I think later on he was exonerated, and I think he was dead by then, and they brought the body back to the United States. Something like that. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. But this is how powerful the secret societies, the clergy, and other powerful, exclusive Illuminati groups, including the 13 families that rule this planet, were opposed to this information coming out. But if you go back to this diagram, it shows you that. It shows you all of that and more. Let's look at the Great Separation. The Great Separation occurs when we have, for example, in Indian mythology, I'm trying to press the button. In Indian mythology and in Hindu mythology, Gaia is represented by a huge serpent, big serpent, and she is slain, broken in half. One half stays and creates the heavens where there is continuous imagination. But the imagination that would have been apparent if the snake wasn't slain, it was the fact that if the big fat serpent of the Hindus was not to be slain, then Gaia will continue to imagine and never stop imagining. Worlds will come and go, but they will not have the permanence of time to be of any long lasting significance. How can I put this? Um, how can I make this a lot simpler? When you're looking at when you have a tape recorder? Well, many of you don't probably weren't even born when we had tape recorders. But let's say there's something, the tape recorder gets stuck and it plays the same song. Or let's say a record, you put a record, right? And the record keeps playing and it's stuck. There's a scratch on the record. And the needle bounces off the record and it plays the same tune. Well, that's Gaia. She's like a broken record that you have to do something to lift the needle so that you can continue to hear the music. But the Gaia represents that interruption, the uh, 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 meaning that she's constantly creating so much that we don't know what she's creating or see it through because it's always skipping. So it's just world B, world C, world D, E, F, G, but we don't know what the songs are in those letters because she's too busy on the next letter, F. So she had to be slowed down. So the complex mythology, not just of the Hindus, China, Asia, and then ultimately here in the West, is that there had to have been a slowing down of Gaia's imagination. The more slower her imagination, the more the physicality of her imagination will manifest. But Gaia is not a manifester. Gaia imagines. Her job is to imagine these worlds. But it took a polarity of this imagination to actually bring it into physical form. For this to occur, there had to be a separation of the same being, Gaia, and polarized into another form of being which promotes action. See, Gaia is not an action goddess, or it's imagining. It's imagining. Think of a pregnant woman. A pregnant woman is gestating every 3 months. She's not doing anything to bring that baby out. She's just gestating. At some point, a separation occurs outside of her control where the baby starts to come out. Whether she likes it or not, that baby is going to come out, and that in itself will be a separation. Well, now the baby is outside of the mother. Another separation occurs when they cut the umbilical cord to fine tune this separation. Now the baby can cry and be on its own without the agency of the mother, at least initially. It's the same situation with Gaia and imagining. The slaying of the serpent, cutting the serpent in half, it's a form of birth. So now you have the part that's been slain that makes up the heavens, whatever that may mean or be. But then the second part of the slain snake or serpent becomes the polarity of that which was slain. So two worlds are created, which is anti like a polarity of duality. Now instead of one big fat serpent imagining, it is broken in half, and only half is allowed to be imagined because that slows down the rate of imagination of Gaia. The other half develops a polarity of the manifestation of that fantasy or those worlds within fantasy created by Gaia. Now, the slaying and breaking of this serpent. Now, the mythology is a lot more complex than how I'm putting it. It's a lot more complex. But to simplify it, this created the male gods. The male gods are responsible for action. The slaying of the serpent, which separates the two halves of the serpent, is what Western scientists call the Big Bang, which is fire. This is the beginning of the externalization of Gaia's imagination into physical form, brought about by the male gods. Here we see the polarity of feminine and masculine forces, or as scientists call it, the positive charge and the negative charge. Right? So now we got two worlds created, one of imagination and the other the manifestation of that imagination into physical form. We are the same way as human beings. In our minds, we create mentally. And if we are interested in what we are thinking mentally, we have the power to make it real, to make it happen. If I want to be a musician, I imagine myself being a musician, and over time, I become a musician by going to school, learning an instrument, and bringing my imagination of being a musician to actual reality. That's no different than the imagination process of Gaia, because we are gods in human form. It's the same polarity, the same economy. So this is the first separation. The great separation is the separation of imagination. If we only had imagination, then there would not be no physical reality, because that imagination has to be brought to physical reality in some way. But it has to also create a sacrifice. The sacrifice of Pisces or the hangman and the tarot is symbolic that in order to create something or give birth to something, something else has to be sacrificed to bring that about. But in this case, Gaia's life became sacrificed when she was slain, and this world of polarity was created. That's the sacrifice. And Gaia is Neptune, Pisces, and the 12th house in the birth chart. So we go back now to the diagram to discuss the planets. Uh, in discussing the planets, we can also discuss the galaxies, mega galaxies, and multiverses, multi universes. But that can be a little complex. So we're going to miniaturize it by uh, looking at that same concept of separation with the planets, right? Now let's go back to the tree of life. Here, one thing that occultists are not going to tell you is that the tree of life also changes. It also morphs. I did a video many months ago showing you different portions of the tree of life as it is governed by the planets in their day, broken down into periods and epochs. If you look over here, you're not going to see this in any Kabbalistic model. You're not going to see it. Here we got Uranus. Uranus, right? On top, right? We got Uranus here on top. And then over here, we have Neptune. Neptune is feminine, ruling Pisces, which is a feminine sign. And Uranus rules Aquarius, which is a masculine sign. Here we see the duality of feminine and masculine. And if you notice, and this they don't show you, if you notice here, the glyph of Uranus resembles the trident of Neptune. This is not a coincidence. Neptune and Uranus together creates the glyph of Uranus, Aquarius. See, there's the trident. There's the trident. This is the masculine and feminine Gaia. Now here again, I just talked about the separation. This separation is what's called, there it is, separation which caused fire. We have the element water, now we got the birth of the element fire. Here begins what scientists call the Big Bang. You see, it's following the laws of the universe of a separation. Here we have a separation of Gaia and Uranus. Remember, Uranus is the first of the gods, but so is Neptune, the marriage counterpart. This is never talked about. Right? God is both feminine and masculine. And we are also feminine and masculine. Doesn't matter which sex leads. I was born with a penis, so the male leads. But I have an inner feminine that is just as potent and volatile, critical as the male. And a woman is born a woman with the woman gonads, but she also has an inner masculine as well. No different than the god and the goddesses. This is another polarity, right? So, let's see. This might be, a little deep. We're gonna do a part three. Okay? I want to give it to you nice and, piecemeal, piecemeal. And you guys let me know how you are liking it, and then we'll go to part three. All right. I'm doing it very short.